Something brought you here at this exact moment, and if you're honest, you can feel it. That strange pull in your chest. That quiet voice you kept ignoring. That sense that something is shifting around you even if you can't explain it. That isn't imagination. That's the frequency of a new timeline locking into place. And the fact you're listening to these words means your rise has already begun. You're not here by accident. You were drawn here because some part of your deeper self already knows you aren't who you used to be. For months, maybe longer, something inside you has been pushing you, stretching you, preparing you. And while others may stay trapped in the space between wishing for change and actually living it, you broke through without even realizing. Every moment you refused to give up, every time you chose the harder truth instead of the easier habit, every time you felt that pull urging you toward a bigger version of yourself, it wasn't random. Those were alignments, adjustments, silent activations preparing your entire system for what's unfolding now. Timeline shifts don't burst into your life with noise or fireworks. They slip through the smallest moments. A conversation you can't stop thinking about. A habit you suddenly can't tolerate. A feeling that the old world no longer fits your skin. Transformation always arrives disguised as restlessness. Yes, it feels uncomfortable because you're in the in-between, the space where you've outgrown who you were, but haven't fully stepped into who you're becoming. It's not confusion, it's metamorphosis. You're not breaking down, you're breaking open. Look at your life closely. Haven't things felt different lately? Situations you once tolerated now feel impossible to stay in. Conversations that used to drain you suddenly feel unbearable. People who once understood you feel strangely distant. This is not loss. This is alignment. Life is clearing space for the version of you that's emerging. Your comeback won't be a dramatic cinematic moment. It won't be sudden miracles or perfect signs. Real change is quiet expansion, slow rewiring, deep reconstruction. Not to make you more impressive to others, but more integrated, more authentic, more whole. And sometimes wholeness first feels like falling apart. Think of how you've been shifting. You've started speaking truths you used to silence. You've stepped away from patterns that only repeated pain. You've set boundaries that feel uncomfortable but necessary. You've begun choosing peace over chaos, clarity over drama, alignment over approval. This is your comeback timeline coming online. Not later, not someday, right now, in the dark, before any visible proof appears. You're moving before you can see the path because staying still hurts more than stepping into the unknown. Others will notice the shift in you before you fully see it yourself. Some will respect the changes, others will resist them because your growth exposes their stagnation. But their discomfort is not yours to fix. You're no longer responsible for shrinking so others can stay comfortable. The energy you used to burn trying to manage people's expectations is returning to you. The mental space once filled with "am I enough" is now becoming space for vision, creativity, possibility. That's when acceleration begins, not when you try harder, but when your signal becomes coherent. Synchronicities don't appear because you've earned them. They appear because you finally stopped blocking them. This journey isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering the version of you that existed before the world convinced you to dim your power. The older version of you would have apologized for your growth. The current you understands your evolution isn't meant to be digestible for everyone. Your transformation gives others permission to transform. Your truth helps others drop their masks. Your calm encourages others to let go of control. Your willingness to walk alone helps others stop begging for validation. And yes, That's why it feels lonely. You're not just changing, you're dismantling an entire identity that no longer holds your frequency. Some relationships will evolve with you. Others will dissolve because they were attached to a version of you that no longer exists. That's not abandonment, it's energetic accuracy. This timeline is opening now because you finally built the inner capacity to hold it. Through every fall and every rise, through every night you kept going despite the weight, through every moment you chose growth over comfort, you created the stability required for this shift. You'll soon realize how much power you leaked into fear, into what people might think, into situations you couldn't control. Reclaiming that power won't always feel good. It requires honesty. It requires facing truths you avoided. It requires grieving the time you lived on autopilot. But on the other side is a self who doesn't just survive, but turns pain into wisdom and carries a light that affects every room they enter. That exhaustion you've been feeling, it's not burnout, it's your upgrade. Your nervous system is recalibrating to operate on a higher frequency. And slowly, the exhaustion is turning into a quiet, steady inner energy. Not the kind that comes from motivation, but from alignment. Your rise isn't just personal, it's ancestral. Every cycle you stop repeating becomes healing for generations behind you and ahead of you. That's why the resistance felt so strong. The old patterns knew that once you stepped into this new version of yourself, you'd never shrink back again. You're not creating your comeback, you're selecting it. In the quantum field, every version of your life already exists. You aren't starting from scratch, you're tuning into the frequency of the timeline that has been calling you all along. You collapse possibility into reality every time your thoughts, emotions, and actions align. That alignment, not perfection, is the real activation. Affirmations don't work without embodiment. Your life responds not to what you say, but to what you broadcast. Your mind isn't your enemy. Your fear isn't a flaw. They are old protectors running outdated programs. You don't battle them, you update them. You're not at war with yourself, you're upgrading yourself. And yes, that's why you're tired. You're not just changing habits, you're renegotiating your entire identity. You're stepping into conscious creation instead of unconscious reaction. You're remembering that reality isn't happening to you, it's happening through you. Creation isn't about forcing outcomes. It's not control, and it's not perfection. Control comes from fear. Creation comes from alignment, a calm certainty that doesn't demand proof before it believes. Hold your vision loosely. Release the urge to decide the how or the when. Trust that what is meant for you moves toward you the moment your energy stops contradicting itself. This is the balance most people never learn. Care deeply, but don't cling. Commit fully, but stay open to better paths. That's the state where your energy becomes magnetic, where you broadcast intention without leaking desperation. You don't need the external world to validate your growth before you embody it. If you wait for results before shifting your frequency, you keep signaling lack. But when you choose to live in the feeling of wholeness before the evidence appears, reality reorganizes to match your inner state. Timeline shifts aren't measured in hours or days, they're measured in coherence, in how consistently your inner world broadcasts the frequency you want to live in. Most people quit too early. They shift their energy for a moment, see no change, and go back to old programming. But the field responds not to temporary clarity, but to sustained alignment. Progress won't be linear. Some days you'll feel powerful and clear. Other days, old patterns will try to pull you back. But every return to alignment strengthens the signal. Every time you choose the higher path, even while afraid, you amplify the frequency your new timeline requires. This is how you stop outsourcing your power. This is how you become the source, not the echo. Sovereignty isn't about never struggling. It's about understanding that struggle isn't failure. It's feedback. Resistance doesn't mean you're off track. It means something old is losing its grip. As you evolve, challenges won't disappear. They'll transform into redirections. You'll stop pushing against life and start moving with it. Action becomes natural instead of forced. Even uncertainty stops feeling threatening because you're no longer operating from fear. You're operating from connection. You're not alone in this. You're part of a global shift, an awakening. Every person who steps into their authentic timeline strengthens the collective field. Energy spreads like resonance. When one tuning fork vibrates clearly, the others begin to match its frequency. Your growth becomes inspiration without effort. Your clarity becomes guidance for people you'll never meet. But with this power comes responsibility. Your energy impacts everyone connected to you. When you rise, you lift others. When you fall into old patterns, your light dims. This isn't pressure, it's purpose. You're contributing to a remembering happening on a species level. The belief that you're fixed, limited, destined for repetition. That was conditioning. Your true identity has always been fluid, infinite potential expressing through temporary patterns. And patterns can be rewritten the moment you recognize they aren't destiny. Of course, your mind resists. It confuses what's familiar with what's safe. When you try to live differently, it tries to drag you backwards with fear, doubt, hesitation. That's not sabotage, it's biology. Your comeback asks you to choose the new path repeatedly until your nervous system learns expansion is not danger. Growth becomes natural the moment your body stops treating it like a threat. Healing was never about repairing something broken inside you. You were never broken. You were fragmented. Parts of you shut down to survive. Now, healing means calling those pieces back, acknowledging them, listening to them, integrating them. You don't erase these parts, you unify them. Without this inner reunion, no new timeline can stabilize. Coherence cannot come from a divided self. This requires sitting with discomfort you've avoided for years. Letting old structures fall away before the new ones have fully formed. That space between identities, the void, the quiet darkness, is where your transformation crystallizes. And on the other side is a version of you so aligned that thought, emotion, and action move together as one signal. A frequency so clear, reality has no choice but to reflect it. If someone you know is feeling this same pull, share this with them, not as content, but as a transmission. Because this moment is not random, it is confirmation. Your new timeline isn't approaching, it has already begun. That sensation in your chest, that